Commission, who now has the power to prosecute cases of corruption. So this is the time to report corruption. If you never knew the perfect time to report corruption, now you know this is the time, because the LACC, which is the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, now has the power to prosecute cases of corruption. And you can report your cases of corruption to CENTAL by dialing 4432, whether it is bribery, whether it is extortion. You're driving along the road and then the police officer tries to extort money from you or try to solicit bribe. You have the power to just call CENTAL 4432 and report that particular complaint. Make sure you have some pieces of evidence, like maybe the identification of the police officer, the place he's stationed. Maybe if you can get a badge number, report that. It's not just with the police officers, but also other areas. You may be in school and the teacher is trying to solicit, sex from you as a female or male for grades. It's called sextortion. You can report that by calling 4432. And CENTAL will receive that case and will forward. So that way you'll be helping in the fight against corruption. You will not just be passive, but you'll be active. You'll be a player in the fight against corruption. Then if we're recognizing those who contributed towards the fight against corruption, the glory or the accolades will not just be with CENTAL and LACC, but it will be for the entire Liberian public who joined the center, and that is what CENTAL intends to achieve through this advocacy and legal advice center. So www.liberiabudget.info, you have the CENTAL budget portal displayed right before you, and there you will find lots of information around budget analysis. You will find our budget paper. You will find stories that are written through our, investigative reporting fellowship that unearth corruption in mining sector, corruption education sector, corruption all over. We have all of those stories on the budget portal, and they can be accessed through www.liberiabudget.info. That is that for now. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll talk to our guest, Siafa Kamara, who is the lead for the Stopping Impunity for Corruption Through Enhanced Accountability project that is supported by Transparency International. And as we all know, CENTAL is an umbrella organization of Transparency International in Liberia. In fact, it's a representative of Transparency International in Liberia. So this project is a project of Transparency International, and Siafa S. Kamara is the lead of this project at CENTAL. We'll talk more about it when we come back from the break. Stated earlier, we have Siafa S. Kamara. Siafa is the project lead for the project that is supported by Transparency International. And it is called Stopping Impunity for Corruption Through Enhanced Accountability, or SITCA project. And Siafa is the one who's doing the rounds of that project at CENTAL, so he knows a lot, and you got to, learn a lot more about what that project is all about. How are we working to stop impunity for corruption? How are we enhancing accountability on this project? And before we continue, we'd like to announce that we are live on Integrity TV on Facebook. You can, in case you're following, you want to get what we're doing live, you want to get a background feel of what we're doing here, you could go to Facebook and type Integrity TV, and you're going to see us live, what we do. We're on YouTube as well. So that is that. So, Siafa, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Blanco.
So, tell us, give us a little overview of what this whole project is all about, which is the Stopping Impunity for Corruption Through Enhanced Accountability. What is it all about?
Well, thank you. And let me use this time to say happy independence to our fellow Liberians, those in Liberia and out of Liberia. This is our country. We all need to come together to ensure that Liberia becomes the country that we all want to see. It was so wonderful yesterday to celebrate our 176 year of existence, and that is a plus to us as a people.
Yeah.
So we all now have the responsibility to continuously involve into developmental activity, fighting corruption, and then bringing people together so that those infrastructures that we want to see in Liberia, we see in making our education sector better, I mean, and all of those services that we want to see. So, the project that we are here to discuss is called Stopping Impunity for Corruption through Enhanced Accountability. This project, like you have started to see, is a TI project, that is the Transparency International project that is sponsored by UC. They are our partners. Before this project, we, like you said, we have been implementing numerous projects here in Liberia. As you may be aware, we are the national chapter for Transparency International. So whatever we do here, I mean, there have been coordination and linkages between us to see how best we stop corruption in Liberia. So these projects look at how we build communities of practice in West Africa.
Okay.
So this project is not just implemented in Liberia, but it is implemented in 11 different countries.
Okay.
That is Sierra Leone, we have Congo, we have Congo Democratic, uh, we have we have uh, so it has been implemented in 11 countries around the world: the Zambia, the Uganda, the Togo, the South Africa. All right, Ghana. So Ghana is one of those that are implementing this project, because the issue of corruption and impunity in West Africa is a old age problem.
Okay.
So under this project, we want to reduce impunity. Take for instance in Liberia, there has been a long existence of impunity in our country.
Okay.
From the civil crisis to present, um, it will interest you to know that even the TRC that was established, there were specific recommendations that intend to reduce impunity.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll go into that as we move forward. So this project basically is going to build community of practice that promote accountability, transparency, and integrity at all levels, whether in the public sector or in the private sectors. So there are a few activities we are to implement. One is to identify corruption cases.
Okay.
All right, those that have been prosecuted, those that are pending investigation, those that in fact maybe that were taken to court, and then maybe the authority responsible for prosecution did not win. So we are also
Are you doing that already? Are you identifying those cases?
Yeah, we have started to do that. We have already started to identify cases. As part of the work that we do is to engage with stakeholders, and some of those stakeholders in the fight against corruption, we have already did our stakeholder mapping, and we have started to engage with them, like the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission. They are very key to the work that we do. The General Auditing Commission, the Internal Audit Agency, the Financial Intelligence Agency. These are all stakeholders that we have been engaging with.
So what has the engagement been about? I mean, what are you looking for? What are you engaging in? Why?
Yeah, so basically we are building partnership with them. That is the first thing, because you will not want to implement a project without having a partners that will give you the support. Like I said, corruption is a serious thing that we all need to, build a strong partnership against, so that we can have it being minimized. So we have engaged with those institutions like the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, the FRA, and then building partnership so that we can be able to flex some of those issues that brought us on corruption. So to reduce impunity, we first have to know what are the causes of corruption. So if you understand the causes of corruption, and then what mechanisms have been put in place to prosecute those that are involved. If those mechanisms are not adequately implemented or enforced, then now you will notice that there is a gap between implementation and then prosecution. So we have been able to build partnership with those institutions, and now we have already identified gap. Take for example the FRA, that is the Financial Intelligence Agency. their responsibility is to uh, stop money laundering,
Okay.
all right, or terrorist financing. But you have people in Liberia that are involved with, I mean, they are spending resources. If you check them years back, maybe 5 years back, they were not even able to own a horse for themselves. But
Mhm.
today, they have mansions. Today, they have buildings that cost almost $1 million. So we call that illicit enrichment.
Okay.
So if you have conversation maybe with FRA, they will tell you that look, we don't have illicit enrichment act. So these are all things that makes people that get that are involved with corruption to go with impunity because there is no law, all right, there is no legal framework to even prosecute this person. So the case of NEC, all right, the National Election Commission
Yeah.
that was taken to court by LACC.
Yeah.
LACC could not win that case because there is no ombudsman that is responsible to deal with conflict of interest in public offices. So to deal with this situation under this project, we are engaging with diverse set of people. We are telling them that look, impunity is what making corruption to be on the increase in Liberia. Take for example, the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index. Last year we scored 29, 26.
Yeah.
All right, 26 over 100. So that alone tells you that look, we are not doing much to fight corruption in this country. So this project, like I said,
Yeah.
in order to reduce impunity, there are so many things we are taking into consideration. One, is to engage with stakeholders. Two is to identify corruption cases, and those that have been prosecuted. What are the instruments that the people use to take this matter to court before even the establishment of the LACC, Liberia signed to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. There is an international instrument that we are signatory to. So if you read that instrument, it tells you to establish or to domesticate all of the provisions that are provided in that document. But in Liberia, we have institutions. As per that agreement, we established the LACC, we established the General Auditing Commission, and several other integrity institutions. But are those institutions really functioning to expectation? Are they even dealing with the issues of corruption? Are they even preventing corruption from taking place? Is impunity has been reduced in our country? So these are the questions we need to ask ourselves as the
Yes.
conversation unfolds.
So part of what you're doing is engaging. I mean, we'll come back to maybe what has been some of the things you've gathered so far from the engagements with those people. But when you were outlining those you've engaged, maybe you didn't hear about engaging lawmakers. And most of the feedbacks from the engagement you've gathered so far, as you explained, is the fact that there aren't legislations to, strengthen corruption fight. So, and these are the people that make the laws. Why aren't you engaging them?
Yeah, so this is just the first quarter. In fact, the first quarter of this project has ended.
Okay.
It is a 2 year, project.
Okay.
So what we want to know in the first place is to engage with those that are involved with the implementation. So whatever issue that will be flagged, like I told you, there's no illicit enrichment act. So we are going to work now after having all of those consultations and analyzing all of those things that we have gathered from all of our engagement. We will now have an advocacy plan. And this plan will not just be done only by CENTAL or our chapter here. It will be done regionally. So that's why, in fact, we also documenting Liberia compliance with all of those international laws or anti-corruption instruments that we are signatory to. Not to just sign, but if you sign, you must be able to implement, to enforce, and to what? Domesticate. When you domesticate and now people begin to, enforce all of these laws, it helps in dealing with the issue of corruption. All right. So we have a plan to engage with the lawmakers, but that will be based now maybe on policy gap. What are the laws that are needed to to reduce impunity, to even hold duty bearers responsible for their actions and inactions. Yeah, it is true that we have some of the laws that the code of conduct for public officials. Today, people are in gross violation of those laws. All right, while people are still in public position, they are campaigning for political parties. Some of them using public assets for their private gain. So these are all issues. So when we start our engagement with the lawmakers and then we now tell them that, look, these are things we need to put in place. Do we need another law to compare those people to, do A, B, and C? So these are the issues that we'll be putting before the lawmakers. But before going there, we want to first understand uh, those institutions that have been put in place. What have been their role? What are those challenges they are faced with? If you went to other institutions, they will tell you that, look, in fact, most of those integrated institutions, the act establishing those institutions, if you look at the budget aspect, the financial support, it tells you that, look, allocation should be made to those institutions 2 times a year. But today, if you visit some of those people, they will tell you that, we have been receiving our resources on a quarterly basis. So if you take, for example, you gave GAC resources or money to implement their activity for 3 months, how are they going to have a vehicle to even go Maryland to conduct audit? So that's a challenge. All right. Maybe the LACC. Maybe you want for LACC go after a corruption matter in Sano. But then you give LACC resources that will last for 3 months. You are also undermining the work that they do. How are we going to reduce impunity? How are we going to fight corruption? So to fight corruption, those institutions that are put in place, those integrated institutions should be given financial support. They need a financial support to tackle it. So when you tackle it, those involved now will say that, look, this institution have the capacity, they have the financial power to go after me. So if I'm involved, trust me, those people will now bring me to court. Now that LACC have been given that direct prosecutorial power, they are going to do more.
That brings me to my next question. Now, the LACC has the power to prosecute cases of corruption directly without going to the Ministry of Justice. And there's been allegations of corruption across the country or recently we heard the former Minister of State, Lieutenant McGill, has been condemned by the Americans for corruption. And you've been engaged in the LOCC. That's an impunity issue. What has been your engagement so far with them about prosecution? Because some of the cases do not end up in courts, and that's another impunity. Somebody is accused of corruption by an institutions like the Americans, and then there's been no formal court proceedings into that matter. I mean, what has been your engagement so far around that?
Yeah, so like I said, there are ongoing engagement, and those people that were sanctioned by the American government, we as a Liberian people have our own role to play in this. Okay. Even the LACC, because that's their responsibility to deal with corruption issues. So we hope that as we continue to engage with them, those people will be called for investigation. But again, the culture of impunity is a serious issue that we all need to deal with. So, like in Sierra Leone, that's why we always making reference to Sierra Leone. While it's true that Sierra Leone also have a dedicated body that are responsible for corruption, but citizens themselves are also involved in the fight against corruption.
How?
Unlike for Liberia, if Sierra Leone someone is alleged of corruption, citizens will gather themselves to say, look, you are involved, submit yourself to investigation. After the investigation, if you are not guilty, all right, you can go back to your ministry and agency to continue your work. But since those guys were sanctioned by the American government, nothing much has been done by the LACC. So in fact, I don't know whether it is based on the current law that they have, because if you look at the new LACC Act, it tells you that whenever they are having investigation, when there is an ongoing investigation, that the public should not be aware until a conclusion is made, and when they are about now to proceed with prosecution, that information now can be made public.
But what's wrong with allowing the public to be aware that okay, we're investigating this person without giving the details, just to say that we've started investigation? What is wrong with that? Have
So,
you engaged them to know what is the reason behind that, or what's wrong with that?
yeah, so I think our engagement in that light now should be with the lawmakers, because they are the crafter of the law. They were the one that, in fact, came up with that act when we were even advocating for LACC to get out direct prosecutorial power. I mean, they in their wisdom, they thought that maybe publishing the names of those that are involved with corruption while undergoing investigation, but they know exactly. But in my mind, it also intends to undermine the work that we are doing as an anti-corruption actors. Because you take, for example, someone is involved with embezzlement, and then you said, or LSCC is going after that person, he said that person should not be declared public for everybody to know that this person is undergoing investigation for alleged criminal act. You know what is going to happen? That person might likely change all of their identity. Maybe you stole $1 million and place it in their account. They could take that money and send it into another person's account without even having a trace. So that is how that law, in my mind, is intended to undermine the fight against corruption in Liberia. Unlike before, when the former, I must say, former Cloud Mountain was at LACC, for each investigation, once you call people for questioning, I mean, you have a press conference, say, yeah, we're having this ongoing investigation, and in fact, we have concluded with this investigation, and this matter will be forwarded to the Ministry of Justice for prosecution. So you see, at that point now, all of the Liberian people will know that yes, LACC is doing their job. But as it is now, I mean, we don't even know whether LACC have a case that they are investigating.
All right. So that's it. You're listening to Integrity Watch, and this is your hour-long radio program that is produced by the communication session of the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, CENTAL. And today we have as guest Mr. Siafa S. Kamara. Siafa is the project lead for the Transparency International project, which is stopping impunity for corruption through enhanced accountability. And that project is being implemented in Liberia by CENTAL. Siafa leads that project. And we were talking about what the project is about, how CENTAL is working through this project to ensure that impunity for corruption is stopped and accountability is enhanced. And they just explain about some of the efforts they've been making through that initiative and the engagements they've had, the reviews they've done so far, and some of the findings from those reviews. We will be talking more, but if you got questions for Siafa, if you want to put your points through, you want clarity on some issues, you want to know what this project is all about or more about what the project is doing, you can call 0779 000 691, 0779 000 691, and you will be live on the program. So back to you, Mr. Kamara. What's, say, for example, the next month or two? What's some of the things you've been planning to do?
All right, so currently we are also carrying on consultation because we want to build a database to incorporate all of the corruption related issues on that database, and that database is going to be accessed by everyone.
Okay.
All right. So take for example in Liberia, like I told you initially, that we are collecting information on the number of prosecuted corruption cases and even some of the alleged cases. So those cases will be analyzed and will be uploaded on that database. So now those I want to make reference to the number of cases or corruption cases that has been prosecuted in Liberia. We just go on that web-based database, and then you have access. So all of the corruption related matter. In fact, That is not only about Liberia. It will be implemented by the 11 chapters. All right, we all will be uploading the data, of corruption issues on that website, and then international partners who have interest in the fight against corruption will not go there and then understand some of the issues that are coming from Liberia. So we are not going to be giving too much attention to petty corruption. Somebody will say, oh, even if somebody take bribe in the street, you are going to also consider that. Yeah, so as CENTAL, like you said, at the Advocacy and Legal Advice Center, yes, we deal with some of those issues. But under this project, we are looking at high-level corruption related matters.
You say high level corruption. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it is high level because those that are seated in a public position.
Okay.
Take, for example, the 3 government officials that were sanctioned. According to the press statement released by the American government, that even informed the Liberian people that those people were sanctioned. If you look at it, it is clear. It is clear. Count by count. They will tell you that, take for example, Bill Traore is involved with A, B, and C, and Mr. Nathaniel F. McGill is involved with this. So these are all issues. For the fact that you are seated in the public, high-level public position, and you are involved with corruption, that's a high-level corruption. All right, that's a high-level corruption, because what you did is going to affect the livelihood of the majority of the population that you serve. All right.
So it is not about how much, in terms of the amount that was, maybe pillaged or stolen or whatever, but it's about, your position, your status, or what kind of effect that will have on the general public. I just want to get that clear so that people will listen.
Yeah, so your position
Okay.
is one of the factors,
Okay.
and also the amount involved.
Okay.
Okay, you could be a minister, all right, and your position is very important to serving the interests of our population. So even if you take 1,000 United States dollars, that alone will have an impact on the larger society. So even if you take $1 million, that will also have an impact on the larger society. So we are also looking at the amount involved and the characters involved.
Okay, and there are lots of other acts of corruption that are being perpetrated not just in government but in other institutions, like in the NGO, in the civil society, in private spaces. Are you looking at that, or is just about government and government officials and what have you?
Yeah, so corruption is corruption, whether
Okay.
it's in the NGO sector. So
Okay.
that's why even the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, they also deal with corruption cases in the private sector. All
Okay.
right, whether it is an NGO. So one, we understand that this corruption has affected the livelihood of our people. All right, maybe take for example an institution like we told you the last time, even at CENTAL, we receive an issue where an NGO
Okay.
embezzled resources, and that matter was forwarded to LACC for investigation. So that's a high level of corruption. So once that is prosecuted, we are going to.
Let's take this caller. Good morning. Your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, to the voice of John Marlborough, and I join from Lower Marquis County.
Let's hear you.
Thank you this morning for your analysis on corruption. Our society, a big imagination, one government official are sanctioned by the American government. We see our citizens, some of them hearing this corrupt individual. They are, to petition to take part into a national election. It's big my imagination, and President, will have fewer power with him. The American government told us that nobody should do business with this central official. Well, to our utmost surprise, President, we are told the partisan to put Nathaniel McGill on the CBT ballot. It fits my imagination. America will tell us that this man has stole our resources without even consent to investigate the people. Then we are allowing them to take part in the election. It would say that America, they don't have sufficient evidence to say that the people are corrupt, so they don't want to investigate the people.
Okay.
How will the international community take us to be serious when we are hearing corrupt individuals? it's very far. It piqued my imagination. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, thank you very much for that particular comment, and it just says a lot about how a lot of people think about corruption and how enraged people become when they hear acts of corruption being perpetrated and then little being done about them. So you are in flight.
Yeah. So if we want to reduce corruption
Yeah.
and promote integrity, like I told you, we need to come up with a system. We as a Liberian,
Mm-hmm.
everything cannot just be on government because we are the one that make government. That's what democracy call for. All right. If you look at the element of democracy, I mean, it talks about participation.
Yeah.
So to fight corruption, that's why we at CENTAL we are building partnership. We believe that we ourselves cannot do everything. So we build partnership with other people to help us fight corruption. So we use the seven union approach.
Okay.
Or we design our own approach as to how to deal with it. Like the caller said, in Liberia, we inhale people that are involved with corruption. Somebody went and stole $1 million and then they gave you 2,000 Liberian dollars and then you are celebrating. What are you celebrating? That's why impunity continue to exist or persist in our country. So we all need to come together as people now to ensure that those that are involved, all right, be prosecuted. We should be calling for prosecution. People are calling for criminal the
Yes.
establishment
Let's take this. Let's take the other call and get back to you. Good morning and welcome.
Yeah, good morning, sir. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing fine. How are you?
Yeah, good. My name is Ambassador Louis S. Johnson, and I join you from the District 2 resident Monrovia County.
Let's hear you.
Yes, it was a great discussion that you continue to have weekly on a radio station of the ECOWAS network. I think corruption in our country should not be looked at as our friend. We should look at as a proper enemy because over the period of time, corruption, economy, and other stuff has been something that has taken us back. And there's no improvement because if one person steals money, that person take it to another country and build that country. So I think corruption should be looked at as a public enemy, and we as people in the private sector and public sector should be able to speak to these issues and to not go to coincide with them. And also, the issue of public and several cities in our country should not be looked at as something because normally people say that when a man steals, doesn't tell the money at another country, but he's still in the country is a good thing. I think those topics and remarks should not be appreciated. We should be able to talk about it in a popular way that people will not be able to do it because they will be able to appreciate people who fund in corruption. Then means that this will be inclusive process every time.
Thank
So
you.
I think we have to really get to the issue. And
Thank
one
you.
thing I want to also speak out, some of us like can't take to be able to step in this case, I don't know, to speak out the issues on see it.
Okay.
We think we want to work with and CENTAL to be able to serve as agents of change our community, our nation, and our country at large. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we'll do that for the calls and because of time. And yes, you can join CENTAL. CENTAL is membership-based organization. You can reach out to our office. Siafa S is also, supporting another project, which is the Joint Civil Society and Anti-Corruption Program that works with grassroots organizations and people in the communities to amplify the advocacy efforts around corruption. So yeah, you can reach out to Siafa, you can reach out to CENTAL office, you can call CENTAL's hotline, and you can become a volunteer. Also, if you're in one of the universities, you can reach out to the integrity clubs. You go to the four universities we mentioned, which is UL, UMU, AMU, and Stella Maris Polytechnic University. We have integrity clubs there that you could reach out to and join and become part of the family of CENTAL, working towards ending corruption in Liberia. Siafa, just brief parting comments in a minute so that we wrap up.
Yeah, so we want to use this time to call on our citizens and those are heading the integrity institutions to continue with their commitment in the fight against corruption, most especially those are LACC, the GAC, the FRE, the REE to continuously engage enhancing their effort to fighting corruption in Liberia, because the future of this country is in our hands. If we want to have a better society, a better education sector, we need to reduce impunity for corrupt officials. Whoever that is involved, whether they are connected to higher powers,
Thank you very much. And that's all the time we have for this edition of the program, Impacted to Watch. Siafa Kamara was my guest. He's the project lead for the Stopping Impunity for Corruption through Enhanced Accountability in Liberia project, which is a project that is supported by Transparency International. And CENTAL is the national chapter for Transparency International in Liberia. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Integrity Watch. I've been your host, Edward Blamo. I'm a Media and Communications Officer at CENTAL, and I've been very ably assisted by Mark W. Bondao. He's the Communication Assistant at CENTAL, and together we've been bringing you this program. That's all the time we have. We'll meet you next Thursday at about this time to bring you a brand new edition. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.